King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. WWE, along in conjunction with the fan base, is now experiencing a honeymoon period. The fact that we have the fans back now in attendance at all these shows, from the SmackDown on Friday night to Money in the Bank tonight from Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Texas, it was really something to be said about the opportunity that WWE had to really get things off the ground and to really embrace this new opportunity to kind of reinvigorate the audience, because the stagnation of the Thunderdome really bothered a lot of people. And now this opportunity to come back and say, okay, we need to stir things up. We need to get these crowds coming back to the arenas. We need something to come on up. And this is what actually happened. WWE really did some corrections on some things that really needed to happen. They automatically created what I would think is a double main event at SummerSlam in literally 5 minutes, along with a number of other things that they did right tonight. This was a grade A show. There was only one match I felt was a little bit lacking. Otherwise, this whole show, top to bottom, was really great. One of their best Money in the Banks in the last 5, maybe almost 10 years. Like, it was just that solid a show. Really, I had no problem with the people who won the Money in the Bank briefcases, the people that went over tonight, and some of the booking that was done. Like, there's some really good main event booking that was added here. Now, I need to put a caveat to that, because of the fact that we have to get part-timers. The greatest hits, as I called them on the Wednesday night show, the regular episode, I said that in order for WWE to get the fans back into things, they have nothing they can do to build things back up among the stars they have. I mean, we can go back to WrestleMania, and I can go back and talk about the stars that we're looking to go ahead and spotlight and to put a shine on, and what they've done since the 2-night WrestleMania, and see where they've accomplished things. But now you had the obstacle of the Thunderdome. You know that the crowds have not been happy since WrestleMania with the product we've been getting. But coming up to the live shows, your SmackDown show on Friday night was very solid. You know, I made mention of that on the Slammiversary recap, which this, by the way, back-to-back nights of the Wrestling Observer podcast. Did a recap of Impact Wrestling Slammiversary. A lot of people were reaching out, especially on the YouTube feed. I love that. For whatever reason, I'm really grateful for all you fans that really do look to me. And one of the few things you definitely like me doing is when I recap or talk about Impact Wrestling. However that is, people love when I talk about it. So I'm glad that you guys stick around for that. But we're going to do WWE tonight. We're going to do Money in the Bank. Now, overall, a couple things that I did with the matches to see where Roman Reigns, which I expected was going to get the win, Bobby Lashley getting the win. You keep those guys as your top champions right now. We know that Bianca Belair retained the SmackDown Women's title Friday night. They'll do a rematch this coming Friday. And then Rhea Ripley drops the belt to Charlotte Flair. But we couldn't think of a lot of different things that can happen to lead up to SummerSlam to really build up that Allegiant Stadium crowd in Vegas. And I'm thinking there's going to be one more match they're going to book that'll make that happen. And I think we can see that booked as early as tomorrow. The crowd wanted Becky Lynch. And after Charlotte Flair won that match, even throughout, I don't see why they couldn't see Becky Lynch coming back to reclaim her belt at SummerSlam against Charlotte Flair. 3 solid main event matches. Seth Rollins, Edge, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and John Cena returning to take on Roman Reigns. That's a hell of a show. That's a good start with 5 weeks to go. That's a hell of a start to go with. Or is it 4 weeks? I forget. No, it's 5 weeks, I think. So you got some time. You got a lot to work off of. And it's a hell of a moment. No, August 21st. So yeah, 4 weeks. Roughly. So they have time to work off of. Well, actually, it's 5 weeks, roughly 5 weeks. Still quite a bit. That's a big place they need to go ahead and fill up. So if they can do it, more power to them. Let's see what they can do. With that said, the crowd was ultimately super hot tonight, and it's definitely deserved that. Was glad to see how that worked out so well. And, that obviously was going to help the show. But like I said, in this period of the honeymoon period for WWE, what can they do? What can they do now once they already know they're going to have the engagement of the audience as best as they can get it of their hardcore fan base and some of those, random people that will come in, the onlookers coming in to watch the program, they're going to come back in and watch. So what happens here? Well, we get in, we do it, and they need to go and just not go along and play autopilot. They need to do some things to create the chances of superstars and really build some things up so that you could have some big names coming into SummerSlam, which really comes off as the real WrestleMania because those part-timers were not part of this. Now, we don't know what's going to happen next with some of the other matches we have. The other thought was, Goldberg's supposed to be coming back on Raw? So we could see Bobby Lashley and Goldberg as a match on SummerSlam as well. So that's your 4 matches. That right there is a solid SummerSlam. That should be enough to get people in the door. To me, it looks like that. That's a hell of a pay-per-view right there. And then I don't know what they do with Bianca Belair. Would they bring back Sasha Banks at this point, or do you hold her back? I don't know if she does come back, but hell, that's 5 matches right there that people are going to want to pay to see. They're not long-term feuds, most of them, but at least that is the spark that lights the fuse that WWE needs to really go and get people back engaged. And then they can start finding things to rebuild once again. If they're going to do that, if they're going to figure things out now and backs against the wall, they need to placate to their broadcast partners and do something. So I want to briefly go back to WrestleMania and talk about just a couple of the names that I said were going to be the spotlights that were going to be put on certain stars and where they've been since. Well, getting into this, we said this. Now, we knew Bobby Lashley, strong. He's a star. He remains a star tonight. You see Cesaro beating Seth Rollins. That is a strong... Well, Cesaro... Really, they gave him the chance to get closer to Roman Reigns, but never really gave him that match. They never got him that close. They just don't have the faith in him. Cesaro just remains at the top of the mid-card and is always a very formidable figure. Braun Strowman's not even there. I mean, it's amazing that he's gone still. Damian Priest has been a non-factor. They're going to put him in some kind of feud, but ever since the Bad Bunny pair-up, it's been nothing for him. It's actually John Morrison's got more of a run doing the Johnny Drip Drip stuff than Damian Priest has gotten as a result of that match. And then Bianca Belair, she's basically steady as she goes where she's been at. And then I look at the second night, it was going to be, Apollo Crews did win the Intercontinental title over Big E, and not much has happened there. He's still IC champion, but really not much is done there. And Rhea Ripley, I felt like her run as champion was flat, in my opinion. So that's where things were in that whole setup back at WrestleMania. And then Omos has kind of not moved the needle either. Like him and AJ Styles, they've only had a couple of matches. They had a strong showing tonight, but it wasn't great, but it was there. Now, on to Money in the Bank tonight. So, Mysterios defend the SmackDown Tag Team titles against the Usos. Almost 12 minutes for this match, and I was surprised the match. Well, given everything that was going on, you're going to have this in the pre-show. I kind of wish they could have put this on SmackDown on Friday, but I can understand why they didn't, because they wanted to have it where the Usos won it, so they could have that moment later in the night with Roman Reigns to say, "Hey, okay, you did the easy thing now. Now I'm going to show you how it's done." And to solidify the bloodline where things are now. Which, by the way, Roman Reigns and the Usos and Paul Heyman confronting John Cena over the next couple of weeks on SmackDown, that is going to be fun. That should be really cool to go and see. I don't know if Cena actually even wrestles before then or what they're going to do, but they can figure out something, I'm sure. I don't know what that'll be. But then again, they did the six-man tag at SmackDown, so not to go and put it there. It's all fine. Like, to go and set up what they did, to go and set up Roman Reigns and Edge and put that together, that was a fine setup. And so to have the match tonight, they had to go and book it here. And the Usos winning was the right move. Nothing against the Mysterios, but the Mysterios kind of playing off here as, getting a run as champions, but not going to be holding on for a long time. They're a vulnerable championship tag team, so the Usos getting this back, it makes sense to me, and the match was very good for what it was, and no problem there. Money in the Bank ladder match for the women's championship contract. Nikki A.S.H, oh God, they've changed her name, and I'm still not in the superhero character. It's just not swinging the pendulum for me. Against Asuka, Naomi, Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Zelina Vega, Natalya, and Tamina. It didn't make much of a difference to me of who was going to win this match. I was still for Alexa Bliss. And first thing I got to tell you in this match was one of the smartest things of character development for Alexa Bliss. Now, we can talk about all we want, what they decide to change. But taking her away from the playground and the puppet and moving her now more into the Harley Quinn type of character, a more sexier adult version with the magic still, okay, it's still there, but the Alexa Bliss we saw tonight was heads and tails better than what we have seen. And it's an evolution of Alexa Bliss that works. Like, you want to keep the magic stuff on her, that's fine. But keeping it as a kid's thing like Bray Wyatt doesn't work. So this alteration of the character is going to work better for her on Raw. I mean, at least looks better. I don't know what they're going to do about the magic part, but I think the crowd took it much better, seeing Alexa Bliss the way she did. Much more revealing, much more of what we expect. It's... For the guys, the more appealing look, that's just what we want, right? But it's because the childlike character wasn't working. It was okay. I mean, but you didn't need her to be a child and then continue to work off of what they were doing. It's because the Alexa's Playground segment didn't work because it was just a complete copy of Bray Wyatt. And she didn't need to be the Bray Wyatt character. Now, if you wanted her as Sister Abigail, that was one thing. But then switching around after Bray Wyatt left, after WrestleMania, and then the whole idea of Alexa Bliss coming out with the Jack in the Box and all that going on, when that all changed, that was no more Bray Wyatt, and that's where we kind of lost everything when it came to Alexa Bliss and what kind of character she was as the Sister Abigail. Going to this other round with Alexa's Playground was a mess. It didn't go well. I didn't like it at all. So somebody got smart to change her character. That was smart. Now, the Nikki A.S.H character, I mean, she could be a fan favorite. The crowd didn't really care. And the crowd didn't make much of a difference when they saw her win. Look, we like Nikki Cross. I don't like this character at all. And it's not running through yet. But maybe it could rub off on us. It just depends on what they get, how they go and let her cash in the briefcase. I just don't know. Liv Morgan looked like she would have been a bit of a chance, and Asuka getting a great response tonight. Zelina Vega also getting a great response. Nobody liked Tamina. The match was pretty good. It was the fact that they had to go and run it first. They couldn't do anything. I mean, you're not going to go and outmatch the Money in the Bank ladder match for the men. That's asking too much of the women to do that. I mean, it's one thing when you're doing a main event and you have the women in the main event and it's just singles competition. That you could definitely put main event. I just don't believe that you want to put all those women together, like even doing Elimination Chamber, just doing that large scale 6-8 person, Elimination Chamber match or a TLC match or a Money in the Bank ladder match. Yeah, you don't want to have that going on in here as part of, trying to put it later in the night. Especially when they decided to go with Nikki A.S.H as your winner. AJ Styles Omos against Viking Raiders for the Raw Tag Team titles. AJ big over. We know that. And Omos keeping, less is more with him. We have to see less is more. And I just don't know what you do. AJ's going to be fine to keep him on with him, but, there's not much going with Omos. They got to keep him protected. He is green, and he still hasn't gotten to a certain point, but still looks menacing out there. So they haven't hurt him. They haven't ruined him. It's fine. It's just a continuation. And the Viking Raiders were just a step over because they just brought him back all of a sudden, and they're a non-factor. The fact that they had to go and bring back the stuff they did with Street Profits last year as something to talk about, that's horrible. But that's because they've been made a joke. They're nothing like the War Raiders of NXT, and they're nothing like the War Machine of Ring of Honor. But whatever happened to this team, they don't know what to do with guys like this. They try to create another, Legion of Doom type of feel with them, just like the Ascension. It doesn't work. They keep doing it over and over. Well, they get big guys. They don't know what to do with them. That's why AOP is no longer a factor now. That's what happens every time you get certain big guys, and WWE doesn't know what to do with these guys. They don't know how to book them or how to use them in any way, shape, or form. And that's just how it is. But they can take one big guy and a smaller guy and do something with it. But they can't figure it out when it comes to two big guys like they had with Viking Raiders, or, kind of Ascension to a point. I don't know. You can't figure it out. Now, Bobby Lashley taking on Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. I love this match for so many different reasons. Now, I understand that Kofi Kingston, him getting the 6-month run, winning at WrestleMania a few years ago, and the kind of run that he had, people like getting behind him and really getting the part of what's going on with the match. Like, this was a nice spot for him to be in. But the promo that Bobby Lashley put on Raw Monday night to get back to serious business, to really refocus, and then basically going like Brock Lesnar did to Kofi Kingston, taking the belt off of him at the debut of SmackDown and just destroying. This was basically the same idea, where Bobby Lashley just really took over all business, no games, and just flattened, where Kofi Kingston could not continue. Referee stoppage, basically. Technical submission. Done. And that's it. And Bobby Lashley is as strong as you can get. He was great in front of that crowd. That guy's just a beast. And if they ever decide to bring Brock Lesnar back, I want to see Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley. That's always a dream match that should be happening if they can make it happen. Like, you want to have Bobby Lashley hold on to that belt and then call in Brock Lesnar and sign him to a contract just for WrestleMania for a one-nighter? Yeah, do it. Because I want to see that match. Wonderful. Now, as for Charlotte Flair and her match going after the Raw Women's title against Rhea Ripley doesn't move the needle for me. She hasn't done it yet. And it's not that she can't. Because I just thought Rhea Ripley, when they brought her in prior to WrestleMania to go on against Asuka, because they had nobody else, and they just felt like, let's just do this here. I didn't like it, but they went ahead and let Rhea Ripley hold the belt, and then this whole feud with Charlotte Flair sucked all the way through. But this match they had tonight was incredible. This is one of my favorite matches of the night. Sure, Money in the Bank matches were great. Roman and Edge was fantastic, but I really did personally enjoy Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. They told a great story. And Charlotte Flair, regardless, she gets a little bit overcome and a little bit over exuberant on her promos. I don't know, there's just something where the balance on her promos and what she says and what is constantly kind of just the same thing over and over, it doesn't hit right. And, it's the expectation that she should be like her daddy. And she's not going to be like her daddy when it comes to that. But when it comes to the perseverance, putting a good match in the ring and making your opponent look better, like Charlotte Flair, in my opinion, she made Rhea Ripley look like gold. In defeat, Rhea Ripley looked like $1 million. That's the way I looked at it. Because actually, in defeat, I got more respect for Rhea Ripley. I already knew those two could have great matches together. This is a match we should have seen a long time ago. But, well, we did see it at NXT. But regardless, to get that here in this big stage and for it to pull off like it did, and Charlotte Flair just pulling out all the stops, somersault, doing the figure eight, and all of it was just strong. And, they put Rhea Ripley in a good place where they made her lose strong. I mean, she comes out of it good. So I don't think there's anything where it's a shot down to Rhea Ripley. I think you just need to go and rebuild her back up. And she needs to take the loss. Too cocky, too much ego for a young talent in the eyes of the main roster. Even though we know she's been around for a while and she's has quite a run at NXT. There's no denying that. But she needs to take a step down. She needs to take a lump, take a lick, and go back to chasing. Chip on her shoulder. I think that's going to work better for her when she has chip on her shoulder and having that. And the problem is that most likely Becky Lynch, I think you see her coming back. And the crowd wants Becky Lynch back. So if they're talking, and then Becky Lynch is already making a point where she took a shot on her Twitter outside Dickey's Arena at Fort Worth, Texas tonight, something tells you, hey, she was backstage with her hubby, Seth Rollins, and, at some point they're going to make the call and say Becky's and they're already saying she's in the best shape she's been in her career. She's all ready to come back. So it's just a matter of if, not when. Not a matter of if, but when. That's what I meant. So they want Becky back. They want the man. And when they do that, if they decide to do that as early as tomorrow, blow the roof off the arena tomorrow night. And they could do that. The momentum right now for WWE was automatic. Tonight's pay-per-view really felt like it got the boost that WrestleMania had gotten before. Like they put quite a few good matches here to kind of build things back up. Plus, this crowd was just eating everything up as if, they had been denied so long. And they were itching to cheer everything tonight. And that's what happened. And they wanted to troll, and they wanted to get back out there, make it look like an Attitude Era crowd, because that crowd was super hot tonight. Like, Edge got a damn great pop, but John Cena, pop of all pops. That pop was bigger than when he came back to Madison Square Garden for the Royal Rumble. It was bigger than that. Like, the pops that you're getting right now are just astronomical. That's like, you just haven't heard it like that in a long time. That shriek of a high pitch of a pop like that, that's just magic. It just gives you goosebumps. It's so good. So I'm happy to see Charlotte Flair here. This was the move I would have made. I said I wanted to see Charlotte Flair win. This was the right move. I'm not giving up on Rhea Ripley. Like I said, she's just not moved the needle for me. But what I think she can do is put her with a chip on her shoulder and find her way back into that, back after going after that title somehow, some way. Or put her in another feud with somebody else. Like, just let's get her back warmed back up. And let's just get her where she's earning that spot. Because the thought of just her coming in and automatically just claiming her spot in a main event match for the title doesn't rub well with me. And I don't know if it rubbed well with the fans. So to come back here and kind of just retcon what they did with her, bringing her back in, let's get her back to square one. And now, okay, she got the surprise win, and she held onto the belt for 3 months. Good for her. Congratulations. But then as soon as you got it, the soonest you lost it. The target on your back, you had to learn from that lesson. Now learn the lesson. And let's see what happens there. Money in the Bank ladder match for World Championship match contract. Men's had Big E, Ricochet, John Morrison, Riddle, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, King Nakamura, Seth Rollins. This was really good. A hell of a good match. Seth Rollins, very crafty throughout, trying to find his way in to get the briefcase. And that was the one that was my odds-on favorite. Ricochet, I mean, just, okay, jumping onto the ladder to it confront Seth Rollins? I forgot who it was, or it was Riddle. I forget who it was, but him walking the rope to get onto the ladder and then jumping onto the rope and then tossing himself out to the crowd, out to the wrestlers outside the ring. That guy, some acrobatic flair. So with Ricochet, it doesn't matter about how far he goes up the card, but that guy is the acrobat. He is the guy that you want to see. He's your guys for spots, and there were spots all over this match tonight. Kevin Owens obviously getting his, taking a shot from Seth Rollins, who threw him out onto a ladder to neutralize him. Big E getting a big ending from top of the ladder to Seth Rollins to neutralize him. John Morrison, the Johnny Drip stuff. I actually was surprised that actually went over. The drip sticks and everything. It's over. John Morrison's over. It's amazing. People like that. So I wasn't sure that was going to go over well, but people were all in for John Morrison. He was great. Riddle was fantastic in this match too. And, they got him getting close to the belt as well. It looked good. Drew McIntyre, he's a little bit, they put him in this match. Probably didn't need to, because we know we're getting him with Jinder Mahal, and that's why we saw the run-in with Jinder Mahal and his goons. So, listen, just figure out what to do with Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre. Please make it good, and no Punjabi prison match, for the Peter's sake, okay? Riddle, getting doing RKOs and really strong. Riddle is just on top, and you could have definitely put that to him. But the choice of, and Ken Nakamura looked very good, and also in his run, but who won the match tonight was well deserved. Second choice would have been Big E. So for him to win and to get the shot, I have not liked where Big E had been kind of like muddling around with Apollo Crews for the last 3 months after losing the IC title, and then just kind of being lost in limbo. And I didn't like it, and no progression forward. So it's just stop, start with Big E, and I didn't like that. You're going to break him off from the New Day altogether and split him on the different shows. Let's do something with him. They did a little bit, and now we're here. So Big E's a cashing away from being a champion, if he can. They could go ahead and put him up against Roman Reigns, because I don't know where John Cena and Roman Reigns lie afterward. But, Big E, deserving of Money in the Bank. At this point, they just, the ladder, the briefcase, you hold on to it. I don't think we're going to get any immediate cash in. I just think with Big E, you hold on to it for a while. Let it run until next year. Find some time next year to do it, if you're going to, and see what happens. But this is a good gift for Big E right now, because we want to see him in the main event. We want to see him in the main event down the line. He's on the cusp. He's been around for a long ass time, and he's good. That's all charisma. He does good matches. I haven't seen enough of him to do singles work on that main event level to put him in that spot. That's the problem, is that WWE's been very hesitant to put Big E in that spot in the main event. So they're not going to just throw him right into Roman Reigns, because at this point, Roman Reigns would just eat him up. But Big E, you take this briefcase, you got to find a way to build him up. And I just don't know which opponents you have that you think of right now that build him to that spot. But they got to do something. And I don't see him going after Lashley, cashing in that briefcase. They could do that. But I don't know if that's where they want to go with that or not. Now, Roman Reigns against Edge for the Universal title. 33 minutes for this match. Now, they did stretch this sucker out. There was a lot that was going on here. They went well past 11 o'clock with this. Oh, I should make the mention of, and I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, I know some people did, about the fact that during the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, and then a little bit during the Charlotte Flair Ripley match, we started seeing the interference where it wasn't buffering. It was, part of it I think was we had some digital glitches. So we started seeing some issues where the feed that Peacock was getting was a little bit rough. And I know through a back-end channel of somebody that was watching it through pay-per-view was not getting that problem. But Peacock itself was having some issues. It looked like it might have been a bandwidth issue on them, because there was quite a bit of time where just during the introductions of the men in that Money in the Bank ladder match, couldn't see him. Like, it was just not happening. It was just so many glitches. You couldn't even, like, basically just seeing flashes of pictures every couple of seconds. I went ahead and reset my Fire Stick, put Peacock back on, tried whatever. And then I used my back end to go to a channel so I could watch it again. And I found it, and I wasn't missing anything. So I was like, okay, let's see if they get this back. And they did get it back right around the start of the match. So I'm not so caught up on it. It was fine. But, I mean, Peacock, they did respond as quick as they could. I'm not going to avoid the onslaught of memes and people being pissed at Peacock and, we're going to cancel it. And, here's our cancellation notice. All right, guys, get off. Okay, get off of it. Come on, IDOC. Tap it down a little. Tamp it down a little bit, please. Come on. So I didn't mind that so much. It was whatever. Now, Roman Reigns, Edge. I really enjoyed last night watching Slammiversary and watching Sami Callihan and Kenny Omega. But this is the level of WWE storyline, where the storyline for Edge and Roman Reigns was as good as it gets. But, I mean, you can't, how can you go wrong? Like, you cannot screw up Edge and Roman Reigns. Edge and the story they told, the 10-year dream, coming back from injury, telling that story. And then this was the match we should have had at WrestleMania, but they did it here instead. Fine. And Roman Reigns being unstoppable. 320 days, they said. And somebody was actually saying on Twitter the fact that you should have another year's reign as champion. I agree. We should absolutely see Roman Reigns stay with that belt. There's nobody ready for him. Nobody to take him on to honestly. I mean, John Cena, you get him as a part-timer. You put him in there for a big money match. And then you just start finding other people to bring on board to go through Roman Reigns. Just give him whatever opponents you could think of, whether you bring some part-timers back for a one-shot or what. And then lead him up to WrestleMania coming up, and he continues to be champion. I just don't know how you play that out and going forward. They can do it. It can be done, and they should figure that out. But this match told a great story. Somebody else is saying on Twitter about the fact that the pace of the match was slower. Yes. I mean, the fact that Edge, we already know that he can run a long match. He can go a pretty good long match and go with it. And these two really did lay it out. Like I talk about how it's like, I mean, whenever I saw a Triple H match, when he was like running the title or he was going after the title, like the type of matches that we always see in that main event, or like a Rock and Austin type of thing, whether Austin was in the match or Rock was in the match as champion, had that Attitude Era type of feel. And that crowd was just all over this match. It was really a solid match. And the story they told was very good. You did get some interference. And so it was, with Edge, what are you going to do? I mean, it's not just the Usos coming in to interfere. Well, then the Mysterios came back and took him out. So we can still see Usos and Mysterios going after each other. That could be a continuation of a storyline with those guys going after each other, because the rematch will be coming back for the Mysterios. The Seth Rollins part was the interesting part. Because I said to myself, yeah, this is a one-off. Like, I don't need to see Edge. Listen, I understand people wanted to see Edge win, like fulfill the dream. I'm not in for it. And that's just me being old school. Edge has won everything. There's nothing left. I mean, the fact that he accomplished to come back successfully from injury, that's the biggest accomplishment that I wanted to see from him coming back. And getting a couple of main event shots, great. And staying somewhat main event or semi-main event, great for him. He can still go. His promos are really good. And honestly, the best face promos he's ever done. Because when he did the goofy, weird kind of wacky face promos back in the day, didn't care for him. Because it was him as a heel that was so great. But him here as the grizzled baby face is great. There's no doubt about it. And that's what it comes down to. Is that Edge isn't the quirky kind of goofy, 3 seconds of flash photography kind of stuff. We're not doing that no more. Edge is not out there for that. It's like down to business. And the ultra aggressive, grizzled veteran, listen to me, right? Like really just in your face kind of feel. That works for him. That's his style. That's what works for him. And that was what worked for this match. But I'm not going to believe him that he felt like he had Roman Reigns being in fear of him. But it was nice to put that little story out there. And even Roman Reigns acknowledged, maybe for a second. So that was fine. The story being told was great. The match that they told in the ring tonight was great. I was kind of curious what happened to Charles Robinson because it made it look like he was actually legit hurt because, you did see the staff coming out to follow along. And I don't know if that was, the way they set it up, looked like it was a little bit too official for me to think that Charles Robinson had something happen to him, and it was just like, oh, we're just going to play along the storyline. So they got the other official out there. And that was my whole thing, was just like, okay, we're going to have this going on where Edge is going to get the pinfall, and they're going to hold, and there's no referee whatsoever. The thing is, AEW and Impact Wrestling themselves, we see it time and time again on the main event match, how you see they got a referee when they get a bumped, the other referee comes out and gets out there at least to go and get that. But they're going to see no referee in there for about a good 5 minutes where we saw the interference, and then we finally saw Edge come back in and get what he wanted. I didn't like that. I like Edge being the babyface where he actually stopped the count so he can go ahead and spear Roman Reigns and really just make sure Roman Reigns where he couldn't win by DQ and then, not get the belt. All that story was told effectively. Lots of near falls that worked well, and that's because the crowd wanted it. They wanted to see if Edge would actually win. And there was definitely a seed of possibility there. But I was still, if you had me betting on it, I still would have bet Roman Reigns to win 10 out of 10. Not even a question in my mind. That setup was actually fine. I had no problem there. So Seth Rollins continues to attack Edge. The storyline's already been kind of set up because Seth Rollins was really planning on going after Roman Reigns, and it looks like he's still going to go after Roman Reigns somehow. But now Edge is going to be his obstacle, his roadblock. And Edge needs somebody else to go after. So Edge and Seth Rollins, fresh new feud. We need to get back to the whole John stuff, right? Seth Rollins has a history with Edge. Let's play that up. Let's get to the point here. That's a story we can tell, which is good. The whole injury stuff that Rollins wanted to permanently do that, and then the jealous streak. There's enough for a good storyline for the next few weeks. So SmackDown is going to be quite good for the next month, for sure, going up to SummerSlam. That's not even a question there. They got a lot of good pieces in place. Seth Rollins and Edge, love that feud. And then we get the major money feud, which is something they have to have happen. Down the line, we know that if we can get WrestleMania to happen, and if The Rock can be made available to take on Roman Reigns, that's a WrestleMania match right there. It's just like when Rock came in to go ahead and battle Cena twice. If The Rock could come back to take on Roman, shit. And Rock as a cocky baby face after head of the table, or maybe not even we're not even gonna probably get that. If we get Rock and Roman Reigns, we're gonna probably get the most serious, emotional storyline of the Samoan family we've ever gotten. This will be bigger than anything they ever could have done with Yokozuna or the Head Shrinkers or anything that's Samoan family related. You could really play this out and go full Samoan family right here on a Rock Roman Reigns storyline going up to WrestleMania. If they could do it this coming year, fantastic. Let's do it. I would love it. If they can make Rock available, that's the only thing. If he can be available to do it, that would be a wonderful thing right now. But back to the current hand. Roman Reigns finishes Edge. Now, of course, there was some, a little bit of disruption and some tomfoolery going on, some plunder, if you will. But Roman Reigns still wins. And then that pop for John Cena. Wow. And didn't have to say anything because we're obviously going to get some talking segments. How are we not going to get Roman Reigns and John Cena for 20 minutes in a promo to start off SmackDown Friday? I mean, let's just bank on that right now. And the Seth Rollins and Edge, we can also have them doing a little something as well. Let me put that in the second hour, something like that. I don't know, but you obviously have that to work off of. So SmackDown's going to be pretty packed. They got some things to work off of. They're going to be doing just fine. So John Cena, Roman Reigns, that's a match I want to watch. It'll be good to see John Cena back. I mean, it's a bit of a nostalgia run. Like, I mean, I know for me, well, I always give the credit for John Cena. I mean, maybe not enough because I also kind of felt like that when him and Edge and him and Randy Orton were the talk, it was like the main event card. That was the top of the main event over and over and over again. Yeah, man, that got exhausting. And that did make it tough about dealing with Cena. But it wasn't I didn't respect the man. I do, man. That guy's done a hell of a job for himself. You know, as a movie star, multifaceted, hosting shows. That guy's doing everything. Like, I mean, he is nonstop celebrity right there. Nonstop Hollywood. And he's doing some great work. You know, hosting, starring in movies. And this guy, obviously, listen, he's in 2 major movies right now. F9, one of the biggest box office selling movies of the year. And The Suicide Squad next month. I mean, the guy's busy. The guy's busy as shit. And there's much more this guy's doing. Like, just, you know, he's just been on it. But doing great. And he deserves it because he's that talented. So we're going to see that. Now, that's the SmackDown side. There's quite a few things on the SmackDown side to look forward to. Just on the fact you got part-timers like Edge and John Cena back on SmackDown and deal with the likes of Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Yeah. Greatest hits. You go with the stars that have been stars for this whole time. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns have been top of the card for a long time here. So you put them there. Keep them consistently up because Seth has been muddled in the whole Monday Night Messiah stuff with Dominik Mysterio and all that stuff, and running that stuff to the Thunderdome. And now we're back to a spot where he should be. The Cesaro Seth Rollins stuff was fine, dancing partner, yeah. So now we move it forward. You got that, and then you got some mid card stuff. Well, with Bianca Belair, defending the SmackDown Women's title. Who knows who they bring her up against next, unless Sasha Banks comes back. And they got the Baron Corbin stuff with Kevin Owens, and they got the Academy, and they got a few other things to go and worry about. So they got some things to work off of. And I hope to get to the point where they don't need to keep running it down our throats, where a couple different feuds can be consistent. It'll be nice to see SmackDown actually have more than enough things to work off of. And then if you just want to keep hitting on the head, Seth Rollins Edge, John Cena Roman Reigns, every week leading up to SummerSlam, and then alternate weeks for some of the other storylines, do that. It'd be nice to have a little change of pace, to know they're not limited on the amount of things they can be working on. It'd be nice to see a little bit of complexity going on with the storylines and what they're doing with programming, so they can have a little bit of a change of pace, which we're all looking for, as we know. All right, I'm leaving it there. So Money in the Bank, Slammiversary, both A-grade pay-per-views this weekend. Loved them both. If I had to go and pick Money in the Bank, would get the edge on Slammiversary just by a hair. But what a great weekend for wrestling. And what a great weekend to have wrestling with fans. We're back with wrestling the way we expect, with the way we want to see it. With fans, with the responses and all that stuff going on. It's great. And hey, the Major League Professional Wrestling getting some publicity and getting some good positive reviews right now. This fan base is probably pretty up and at it and pretty excited right now for a handful of things. And they should be. It's working. They've come a long way. And I just hope they get things right. Something invigorated them because they were playing autopilot for a long time, and something with the company right now on the creative side, just on the major booking side, where some decisions are being made that are pretty smart. Tonight was very smart. Let's see how they execute John Cena, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Edge. I just don't think you could screw those up. What about the rest of the card coming up to SummerSlam? Got 5 weeks. There's a lot of good stuff they can be doing now and then. We'll wait. So the fallout on Raw, we'll have that, and other things to go along with. And what is it? Night 2 of Fighter Fest we got next week, also Wednesday night. So after all that, come back for another Wrestling is Real podcast. We'll do our normal show. But I hope you enjoyed the post shows I did this weekend. And come back for another Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast. You can find all previous episodes at WrestlingIsReal.com or subscribe to the show on all major podcast outlets, including Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at King of Podcasts, and search King of Podcasts on YouTube, or type youtube.com/JBRASCO951. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.